favorite. That's one of those roundabout ways to try to get me to give away who someone is going to end up with. I don't know that I have a male favorite, to be truthful. There's good and bad things about all of them. I tend to have two types. I've got like the kind of quiet, serious guys, like Dimitri and Seth from my Succubus series. And they're fun because they're the stable guys, and they're often the straight man for the jokes that happen, and so they're fun. And then I love the bad boys in the series too, like Adrian and Dorian. If you read Dark Swan, they're a riot to write because their dialogue is just so funny. So I'm not sure that I have a favorite because I like both sides of that, and I think that's the problem a lot of readers have in trying to choose. We like both sides. You see how I totally dodged that? Yeah? All right. Question is, do I have any pointers for writers? There's all kinds of them. A couple of the biggest things I would say is to write what you want to write. Write the book, the idea that's really interesting to you. I spoke to someone last night in Miami who was really paranoid that the book she wanted to write wasn't one other people would want to read. Don't even worry about that, because if you're like fixated on what others will like, you will write a horrible book. Write what you think is awesome, go for it, and that's what's going to make a good book. And the other thing is just to keep with it, because it is so frustrating to be a writer if you're starting or if you're a professional, and there are days you just don't want to do it. And that's why, you meet people who are 70 or 80 who said, I used to want to write a book, and they never did. So those are the two most basic things. It's the kind of thing, there's a million tips, but if you start with those, that's going to be the way to get going. Did I base any of the characters off of real people? No, I didn't. I kind of feel like even if your intentions are good, if you base a character off of someone, it's probably going to ruin a friendship. Even if you try your best, someone's going to be sad. That being said, there are little pieces of maybe people I've seen, that kind of work into the characters. Or obviously there's pieces of me in every character because I've created them. For an example, Abe, who was a new character we met in the Vampire Academy series, he kind of has this weird, like, pirate businessman look to him. And when I was in grad school for comparative religion, there was another student in the department who dressed exactly like that. And no one ever knew his name. He was always that pirate guy. And so that was kind of what I based, I took Abe's decor from that, but they're in no way alike, it's not the same person. So that's the closest I ever get. Does my life relate to any of my series? No, there's not much that's autobiographical. That being said, it's impossible to be a writer and not use the things that are in your life. Often when people write about pain or being in love or things, it's something they've experienced at some point in their life. And so that's what goes into my books. That's how it's based upon me. Now, has it been because of those circumstances, these tragic, epic romances? No, that's never happened to me. But when you're a writer, the best writers are able to take those things you have felt and experienced and put them into the words. What is the feeling I get when I sit down at my computer and see the words in front of me? Often it's just like, oh, what work do I have to do today? Very often when I'm typing them, I am not conscious of the people who are going to read them. I have an outline for every book, chapter by chapter. Georgina walks into a room, and it goes like that, and then that's my plan for the day. That's how I write my chapter. So I'm so fixated on my work goal for the day that I don't even really think about the audience. When it starts to come to play is as you go through the revision cycle, and right now I'm proofing Spirit Bound, which is pretty much the last state the book is in before they send it off to production. And so I'm looking at it on a page like a reader would, and that's kind of cool. I go through it and try to imagine either like if I were reading it to a crowd or if someone is reading it for the first time, and it's not just me working on it. And my reactions are totally mixed. Sometimes it depends kind of how I feel about that passage. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, that's horrible, and it's too late to change it. Other times, particularly some of the most tragic scenes, the Shadow Kiss and Succubus Dreams have two of the most horrible endings I've written. I go back and read those, and I'm like, wow, I didn't know what I was doing. Not just to my readers, but to the characters there, and it kind of hits you after the fact. You are not alone. And that, yes, you could probably find some friends and start a Shadow Kiss support group here, I suspect. Yeah, I had about 2 months of sad email after that. I depressed a nation. It wasn't cool. Who is on the cover of Frostbite? And, you know, I could go on about this for a long time. I'll just tell you, let me tell you about book covers. I don't design them. So often, you know, I get the book cover and I am, you know, and I'm kind of as surprised as you are. And they've all been good. I have really good book covers. But, you know, sometimes the people who are working on them in graphics or whatever, you know, they aren't going to have an exact image of the characters. And so that's why very often they don't look like the characters you may have in your head. And so in Frostbite's case, my impression when I look at that is I see Rose, well, with lighter hair, and Christian. But for whatever reason, he got red eyes, and Christian doesn't have red eyes. So it's really, and that's why I say you and me both, because I kind of don't know, you know, because I didn't make the cover. But that is who it looks like to me if I had to make a call. The new Frostbites, I think they got rid of his red eyes, so I can say for sure, yeah, it's Christian. But I don't know who that guy is on the old Frostbite covers. Question is if it was difficult for me to write the ending to Shadow Kiss, if I had known it was coming, you know, if it just kind of happened. I had known that from the day I started writing the first book in the series. I have all the series planned out. I just have to have a plan. If I was left to my own devices without a plan, I would just type off into crazy land. So I have to have an outline and know how my series is going to end and how each book in the series is going to end, because each book kind of moves us towards that greater goal. So I did know how Shadow Kiss was going to end, and it wasn't hard for me to write it, actually, because it was such a big scene I had known was coming. And I don't want to say like I'm excited, like, oh, I'm so happy, you know, to write this. But, you know, when I have been waiting for this, you know, this is the pinnacle moment probably in the whole series. It wrote itself very quickly because it was so detailed in my head. And so it wasn't hard at all. People often want to know, you know, did you cry when you wrote it? And I did not. And again, not because I'm mean. When you have it planned, it doesn't hit me the way it hits you guys. You know, it's not like I'm typing and, you know, it's like, oh my God, what just happened? You know, I knew it was coming. So it doesn't always have that impact on me. But I do go back and read that, and like I said, the ending of Succubus Dreams sometimes, and I'm just like, like was asked earlier, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I kind of put that on the page. The question is, do I feel like my characters are real, that I'm a part of them? I'm part of them in the sense that I am their creator. They don't have a life off the page to me. I do know some authors who will say things like, you know, my characters told me to do this. No, my characters do not tell me to do anything. I run a tight ship. I make the decisions. That being said, I know them so well because when you've written, like, I guess, finishing, Georgina and Rose, I've written 5 books about each of them. You know them so well, it gets easier to write them almost because you have become so familiar with their habits and their reactions and what wacky thing they're gonna say next, you know. And so in that sense, you know, they have become a part of me. How many Vampire Academy books will there be? Rose's story is going to wrap up in 6 books. And so what, we got Spiritbound, we'll have the 6th probably out in December of this year. It has no title yet. So I can't give you that. And then after that, we're going to have kind of I keep calling it a spin-off. It's going to be set in the same world as Vampire Academy, and it'll be another set of 6 books, but it's going to be a whole new storyline, and the main characters will be not Rose, essentially. It will be characters you know. They're going to kind of be side characters now that move up to the forefront, and we start to see what's going on with them because they've got some problems already, let me tell you. And we'll still see Rose. Yes, Rose lives because she is our narrator. And it's really hard to kill off a first-person narrator. So she's alive into the 2nd series. And so you'll kind of get to see her, and it'll be interesting to see, I think, how other characters, you know, what do people see when they see Rose Hathaway walk by. So, yeah, there are going to be 12 Vampire Academy books out there in the world.